Welcome to the Cowboy Office Show, where you'll experience expert analysis and epic discussion on key pillars of the equine industry, including sports, business, hobby, and the horse lifestyle. Your co-hosts are Jody Brainerd and Brian Dykert, industry veterans with over 120 years combined living the cowboy lifestyle. The Cowboy Office Show will help you get involved, ask more questions, and create change. We'll keep riding for you as together we learn from the ride already ridden, learn to listen better to our horse, and make our industry better for all. Each episode will take a ride around the industry in less time than you can load the truck and trailer. Drop your email at cowboyoffice.com to receive updates and never miss an episode. Saddle up as we ride into today's show.
Hello, horse world. Ranch riding has hit the Western world pretty strong. The Western lifestyle leads to working Western disciplines and competition. Our world, reining, cow horse cutting, and now ranch riding. Today is the third in a four-part series as we explore the Arabian Working Western Alliance, also known as AWWA, and their Ranch Horse Challenge. Welcome to Cowboy Office. I'm Brian.
And I'm Jody. Hey, the AWWA is more than ranch riding. And while it highlights the Western lifestyle that reaches into other breeds, such as the Arabian horse, today we have one of the first champions of the AWWA Ranch Challenge in 2023. Jesse Chase from North Carolina, true professional in the horse world. Jesse, I've known you probably longer than I even care to admit. Welcome to Cowboy Office.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
You know, Jesse, you've been a longtime reiner as well as the owner of the Ring Stallion to Tahili. So tell us about splitting your time and the goal setting that you go through, as all trainers do at some point in time, because, you know, I've ridden the Arabians myself and had some success and trained some. So tell us about what your life is like when you're splitting your time, your goal setting with the reining, say the NRHA part of it, with the Arabian reiners, the cow horse, and the AWWA Ranch Challenge. I mean, that's a plateful. So how do you manage?
I think this is a struggle every horse trainer goes through. And, you know, you got to remember for husbands and fathers and trying to balance family, lifestyle. I own my own ranch, trying to balance repairs. It does get overwhelming. And, you know, I just take it one step at a time. Of course, focus on my reining futurity horses. Those are the ones that need the most attention, and just prioritize. And then as each show's coming up, I'll try and adjust the down training and the up training for whatever the next event I'm going to is. So if it is an Arab show, I'm going to really be pushing and prioritizing those horses, building them up to that show. And some of the other horses, they're going to keep going with their training, but I'll let their workload be lighter. I think that's best for training anyway. I did go through a spell where I really, really struggled with it, where I go to a horse show and maybe win, maybe have a really great show. And I kind of be like, why am I not happy? Why am I not like proud of what I've accomplished here? And the answer was I was just so relieved to have gotten through it because the pressure of trying to reach those goals, and all I was feeling was like relief. Phew, I finally pulled that rabbit out of a hat. Now go on to the next one. And I've learned over time just to kind of take a step back, look at it, work on what I need to work on, when I need to work on it, and let my priorities shift and be more fluid. And that's helped me a lot.
I think that's a great answer. And I think I congratulate you, because both Brian and I have had experience with that, exactly that departments that you're talking about, trying to compartmentalize those things. And it can be a handful, but I think that probably part of today, because it's become so specialized, and, you know, there's not enough, you know, Brian and I are of a significant age where we're a click above you, and guys your age, we're missing that spot where there used to be more of that all around trainer, that guy that, and I don't want to say all around trainer, but that person that could actually do more than one thing, because it's become so specialized. Now you're either, I'm training reining horses, or I'm training non-pro reining horses, or I'm training Western horses, and someone that can actually tackle all those. I believe that different sections of the country, you have different people that like their specialized horse. Someone over here likes their Arabian, and where can I go? Well, I can go to Jesse because he'll ride it and he'll do a good job on it. And I'm a reining horse trainer, or I'm someone, and I say, hey, look, I don't have room to ride this thing. Where can I send it? Jesse, can you ride it for me? So I don't think there's enough of you left anymore. I'd like to see more of you guys that can handle that. I would congratulate you on what you do, and I look forward to having your input on some of these questions that we're going to ask you here.
Without a doubt, I would add one more step to it. And the question, I think Jody hits a lot of it right on the nail. But Jesse, my first big question, do you see more guys your age coming into our industry? Or is it basically the same set of guys you've seen for many years?
No, I actually feel like the old guy myself when I go to the shows and there's so many people warming up, showing that I don't recognize. I don't know who they are. They're winning. I should know who they are. If if I don't know when I show up, a lot of them I know by the time I leave. They're doing a good job, and they're I think the education in our industry is so much better. You, you guys probably remember we just sort of floundered along in the beginning and got a little help from so and so, or a little bit from this person, or you know, drug leads all year, and finally somebody grabbed us by our ear and pulled us aside, some older trainer, and taught us how to change leads. These young kids, they're so well educated in the training programs, what the judges are looking for, and most of them is shown as youth kids, and then they're jumping up and becoming trainers. The starting place for them is at a much higher level than it was for us. Now, that being said, the guys that are older, I know a young guy, he really wants to get into the reining, really wants to train reining horses. He's probably in his mid-20s. He didn't grow up in it. That's a real struggle. He's trying to break into an industry without all that knowledge, and I help him where we can, but I can really see him struggling not having that.
Great to hear. Now tell me as you cross disciplines and breeds, building futurity horses. You obviously got to be building futurity horses not only for the rein and futurity, but also for the Arabian rein and futurity. Is that correct?
That is, yeah. I can go with a little less broke horse. The junior horses and the futurity horses and the Arabians, it's 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Those are all futurity horses. So NRHA, of course, we know it's all 3-year-olds, and then they become Derby horses. So you've got, not everybody shows there a lot. Don't show them as 3-year-olds. I do if I have one that's good enough. You got 3 years, you're showing that horse in a snaffle bit. And it's not that you're allowed to show them in a snaffle bit. You have to. So that alters that training process and kind of your mind and your state where you're at. It becomes more about keeping that thing solid, putting down a solid run, keeping it respecting the snaffle, and being able to, I guess, have a really good clean run more than, hey, I need a clean run with huge dynamic maneuvers.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah, just a little different mentality, more focused on just being solid and less on, I guess, just that raw athleticism.
Then I'm going to ask you one more question. From the owner's standpoint, do you see about an equal demand coming from the Arab stock horse side, people that are breeding Arabs that want the Arab stock horse versus the advanced stock horse of the quarter horse? I mean, they already are a stock horse, but the quarter horse is now so diversified in what it's doing when we talk about the Western disciplines, the advanced ones, reining, cutting, cow horse, roping. So you having a very specialized set of skills in that area, but now you're crossing two huge versatile breeds. So my curiosity is, in today's time, a breeder that's breeding Arabs for Western stock horse stuff, is that somewhere equal to the same demand of what's happening in our Western disciplines, cut and rein and cow horse in today's time?
There's a little bit of a hole in the Arabian industry whatsoever. I will say the Arabians, when we talk about versatile and quarter horse, what we're saying is across that breed, those horses can compete in a lot of different events. But the reiners are specialized to the reining. The cutters are specialized to the cutters, where the Arabians are more truly versatile. You're going to use that same horse to go across those disciplines. You're going to use the same one. So to me, the quarter horse breed is versatile, but also the Arabian horse itself, the individual, is versatile. I remember early on starting and looking at a young horse. It was like a 2-year-old. Somebody was starting, and they were talking about whether it was going to be, they weren't sure if it was going to be a Western pleasure horse or a hunter. Think
Whoa.
about that.
Yeah. Ah,
Yes.
it's like, yeah.
That's a
Now,
big, so I think it's really, really easy to bash the Arabian because it doesn't do what the quarter horses can do in the reining. It doesn't do what they can do on the cows. It's not at the same level, but at the same time, it's truly versatile. I try and do at least 2 events with every one of mine. If I'm going to have a reiner, they're probably going to do the reining and the ranch riding. They might do the reining and the cow horse. They might do cow horse and ranch riding. I try and do at least 2 events with every horse that I ride.
Good for you.
okay. So let me take a step just back a little bit and ask you this question. And Brian and I have had this discussion many times, and a lot of it on this show. And I emptied the barn out 5 or 6 years ago because I didn't have to do it anymore, and it was something that I had a successful career. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It enabled me to retire. I would do it again in a heartbeat. But there's a time when you get to a certain age, it's like, you know what? It's somebody else's turn. But Brian and I, because we've done so much from the officiating standpoint or from the judging and from the committee work and the stuff that we've done through NRHA, we are amazed at even at what genetics has done in 10 years. In the last 10, when we started this thing before your time, we were riding some stuff that wasn't bred to be a reiner. We just made him a reiner, kind of like that, kind of like your Arabian horse. Well, maybe it was going to be an English horse. Well, it didn't work for that, so let's try to make it a reiner. That's what we would get to ride, and it was pretty rough sledding. And we were winning money, $1,500, $2,000 at a time, and now they're winning it $250,000 at a time because the horses and the genetics have changed stuff so fast. So my question to you would be, is there room for that in the Arabian breed itself if people wanted to build a specialized? And I'm not trying to take away, my question is not to take away from that, because I've ridden Arabian reiners and half-Arabian reiners and trained them and made national champions of them. So I appreciate how good they are. But my question would be, is there room if someone wanted to start to specialize those Arabians to a ranch riding or to a cow horse or to reining specifically? Is there room for that?
I do think there is a lot of room for that. I do think that we could make a lot more progress in the breeding. One of my issues that I feel like a mistake from AHA standpoint is the half Arabian thing. So when you show the Arabians, for your audience, I'll just go over it quick, but you show your purebred Arabians, primarily they just show against other purebred Arabians. Then you have the half Arabian, which really isn't a breed. It's more of a registry. So one parent has to be a purebred Arabian. The other parent can be any other kind of horse there is. So what happens a lot is people will take a really good reining mare and they'll go breed her to Little Joe Cash or Gunner Special Night. Those things are pretty dynamic. They're doing all the same stuff as the NRHA. It sort of validates what we're doing, that Arabians can do this when they're crossed that way. That's where you're going to see your higher quality event. But now you just built a dead end street into your breed. Because those horses that are, once they're half Arabian, they're never going back into the bloodlines. So you took your really, really good mare, bred her to a quarter horse stallion, and effectively took her out of the gene pool. So I felt like that's something that they need to address, and they should be incentivizing people to use Arabian stallions on quarter horse mares and get your half Arabs that way rather than pull those good Arabian mares out of the gene pool.
Interesting response.
That
really
is. That,
Yeah.
So your answer to one potential solution is to incentivize more Arabian studs to breed other breeds in mares, as opposed to using the stock horse Arabian mare and breed her to an outside stud, right?
Right. Yeah, because to me, you've built a dead end street in 2 ways. That mare's progeny can never go back and advance the Arabian breed. And you're also, a thing that's hurtful, I think, to the industry is every industry advertised through their stallions. So now you're at the Arabian show and they're picking some famous, this one's by such and such, great saddlebred stallion, or this one's by Little Joe Cash or Vintage Smoke. You're basically telling all your people that the real stallions they should be breeding to are outside of the industry. It's something I really do think needs to be addressed. I'm not involved in it in any way. There's so many times I've seen like a really good mare, and I think she could have really advanced the genetics of the breed. And then those genetics are pulled out to create half Arabs.
Right. Bear with me. If you had a half Arab mare that was of what you did, its mother was a full blood Arab, you breed her to a quarter horse, reining horse, and you get a half Arab horse and you go do your stuff. Your only choice back into the Arabian is to breed that to an Arabian stud. That's your only choice because you have a half Arab, you're going to have a 3/4 Arab, right? It's basically what you're coming out with.
Right. And that 3/4 Arab is still going to be registered as a half Arab.
Half Arab. Right. And that's why you're saying it's a dead end.
It's a dead end. I've seen it down. There was a really great horse, a Western Pleasure Horse, Top Dog. And somebody told me he was like, by the time he'd been bred several times, he was only 1/8 not Arabian because that process had happened 3 or 4 times where a half Arabian daughter had been bred to an Arabian stallion, but they never go back into the gene pool.
Right.
They never are going to advance the genetics of the purebred Arabians.
But don't you feel that, and it's been 30 years since I've tried to train anything to go to the Arabian Nationals from a stallion standpoint, and I would have 2 or 3 of those when I lived in the north 35 years ago, probably even that. But even at that point in time, there was a great deal of bias and there was a split opinion between the Arabian people because all the horses that were sent to me to make the reiners were the Polish line, not the Egyptian line, because in the Polish with great brained horses, physically big and strong, and I've ridden lots of quarter horses that were worse minded than those things were. But you'd get to a show and there would be this big split between, if you had a Western saddle, you were kind of at the bottom of the heap and you were, they wanted that Egyptian type or that thing that had much more art to it than maybe performance. So is that still the case?
That is still the case. I don't know that there's a bias, but the ones a lot of the Egyptians are bred for halter. A lot of the ones that are bred to be halter horses, they have a lot of qualities that just don't work for a working horse. The real dish face, the real pointy ears, a lot of them, they're not very good in the bridle. If you watch an Arabian halter horse and they set up real tall they put their neck way up. There's, it's really pretty, but they lock their knees, and it's really in the pedigree that they'll actually lock their knees and plant their front feet as they stretch out and put their legs in. I'm probably saying everything all wrong because I'm not a halter guy. But if you try and ride one of those things and you get on them the first time, they constantly just lock their knees. And I just can't think of a worse trait to have in a working horse than it wanting to lock its knees, lock its front feet into the ground, right? We need that front end mobile. We need the back end locking into the ground. So there's a lot of that just won't work. I will say, and actually, Jody, you were judging the first time when I won my first national championship. You were judging. The horse I showed there was a flunk out racehorse, Arabian racehorse. And I've had several of those. I tied to win Scottsdale years ago on a horse named, in the last name was the one that I won nationals. This was Move It On Over. And he had flunked off the racetrack. He was big and strong and heavy boned. I tied to win Scottsdale, and I lost the runoff to the famous horse Mozart. John O'Hara was showing him. And I lost the runoff, $10,000 difference between first and second place. But it was fun anyway. Yeah, a lot of what I've ridden, they started out on the racetrack. They're heavy boned, they're heavy muscled, and they're quieter minded. They're not bred to do kind of all that picking their head up and snorting and blowing and presenting and pricking their ears way forward. They're bred to go to work.
Yeah.
So talk about now that all of that, including breeding and horse selection, and heading to the AWWA, because that's a discipline that is started inside the Arabian and Half-Arabian horse. And to my understanding, our understanding, it's headed to be a discipline open to any breed. It'll truly be a discipline. won't be a breed specific. So the AWWA is headed to moving to the WWA. But what I specifically am asking about is everything you just made reference to in breeding an Arabian working horse, a Western working horse, and then going down the path of competition. And in today's time, now you've got the Arabian Working Western Alliance as one of your selection criteria. So what does that mean to you as a professional and the selection of the horse? And when you tell them, talk to your owners, setting goals, all the rest of that.
I don't know how much that organization specifically plays into what my goals are. I think it builds infrastructure for the industry, which the Arabian breed could use more. We want to go show, especially in those cattle events and the reining events, and ranch riding is huge. So that's kind of everywhere. But we don't have a lot of places to go show the reining. We don't have a lot of places to go show the cow horse. Nationals is the main place that I show. Having that infrastructure, I'd love to see that the Working Western Alliance, I would love to see them build more shows, use all breed classes to support those shows financially, and then have more infrastructure, more places to go show. I think it would go a long ways towards helping the industry grow. Right now, Arabians are pretty small. It's a small niche group. When you have one to sell, it's a small market to sell to. It's fairly small, and they really
shrinking.
And shrinking.
It's in a constriction. So that's true. It's factual.
Yes. So I think they need the infrastructure, and you've been involved in show management and NRHA. I've been on the NRHA board. I'm president of our local club here. So that growth is always a thought. What's missing from the Arabians is that infrastructure of places to go show more if they want this portion of the industry to grow, which they should, because it's supporting so many other breeds. And then you also think about your trainers almost like a franchise. So the more trainers you have that are willing to ride the Arabians, now they become the welcome mat for owners, riders, amateurs in the industry. So if we support our trainers with more shows, they're available to the general public. They're going to bring those public to the shows. So that's how I think of it anyway. There definitely needs to be some active steps to try and help that along.
What's the inhibitor in having more shows produced of the type that we're talking about? If anybody out there wants to put on a horse show, but we're specifically talking about some of this Western discipline in the AWWA Ranch Challenge. So, and Jody made reference to this half an hour ago. Everybody in the horse industry today says it's too expensive. So we have to pick how many shows we can go to because we can only afford to go to so many. So part of that would be the average consumer needs a more affordable horse show. That's kind of the generic statement. So if I'm looking at it from a business standpoint, where's the hole? The hole is in the affordable weekend horse show because they want to have fun. They want to learn something. They want to challenge themselves, but they want it to be affordable. Am I somewhere on target?
I think you're on target for the majority of people. So there is a small group of owners and riders that all they want to do is big events, whether it's NRHA Futurity or Tulsa or 100X shows. They don't care how far they got to travel. They don't care what it costs. They just want to be at those big events. But the majority of your horse people, they want to go through the gate.
Right. They need to go through the gate.
They need to go through the gate, and they need to go through the gate a lot of times in a weekend to feel like they got their money's worth. So that's where the industry I don't know how it happens or the best mechanics for it, but I feel like the first group of people that really organize a strong, open, all breed type horse show platform that has the computer knowledge, the office knowledge, that can organize judges and bring in all these sort of smaller organizations under their umbrella that creates that. I think they're going to have a really, really strong organization, and they're going to bring our industry forward a long, long ways.
That is discipline kind of focused. I'm just right.
Yes. Yeah, but it has to be that working Western. That's what people want to do.
Yep.
They
Right.
they want to go dabble on a cow a little bit. They want to go show their rail class. They want to go show their pattern, their ranch pattern. They want to dabble. They might want to throw a rope a little bit. They want to be able to have all those chances to go through the gate and all wearing cowboy attire. That's what they want. And I just don't think the Arabians have their numbers right to grow it. But if that Working Western Alliance could become the organization factor, of course, their passion will be for the Arabian breed. But if they build that platform, all those other breeds help pay for it.
Challenge you to think about it just a little bit different. If you truly stayed focused on the ranch challenge, what's that end goal, regardless of breed? Let the best horse win. We'll talk about that in a minute. And if you wanted to stimulate Arabian and half-Arabian breeding or allow the market to crossbreed some stock breeds, let them do whatever they want to do. In the rest of our world today, the biggest conversation is ICSI, because now with frozen semen and chilled semen, the gene pool in the horse industry is the big conversation. It takes some science and research, and I don't want to go down that path too far, but the point is the Jockey Club and the thoroughbred race industry won't allow their live cover for basically the reason that we're talking about. So the point being, an advanced discipline competition, you make reference to it. Could you have a organization that is absolutely focused on what you just talked about? And if you wanted to stimulate the Arabs, you just put an incentive inside it without doing it the other way around, because that's what they want to do now. The quarter horses want to do it their way and the paints want to do it their way. And then they have a little bit of an open door for others. But you're not going to go spend a week at the Quarter Horse World Show if you got a Morgan. You're not, for one class.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, kind of utilize sister organizations. APHA does that a lot. I know they have like buckles and incentives. The highest placing paint horse at the futurity. Or I've even seen them over in France at the European Derby. There was some representatives there, and they do that a lot. You promote your breed through a sister organization, somehow some prizes, and encourage them to offer the classes that you want. And again, we're still building that infrastructure where people have a place to go show. So
absolutely,
yeah, I think it could work that way.
No, I couldn't agree more. I was kind of thinking along those lines as we're having that same discussion. I don't know, the NSBA just got done in Tulsa. I don't know, because they're just dealing with a certain number of entries. It doesn't make any difference. But if the AWWA or the Arabian Horse Association, I'm not sure if someone in charge of NSBA and said, hey, we would like to add a $1,000 ranch horse class or whatever for Arabians only, and it could be an option that they could enter yours also. Why can't we do that? I mean, who cares if there's 15 Arabians that show up? They don't have to have 100, and it's not going to make any difference to NSBA, because they're going to say, yeah, come on. I promise they would say that. I think the Rain Cow Horse Association, if you said, let's have an Arabian class, or let's add it to your youth and or to your limited non-pro, I don't know, let's add it. And they go, sure, come on, who cares? I mean, it's just another entry to them. But you could have an Arabian champion at that show if you wanted to. I'm just saying, why wouldn't that work? If you RHA say, hey, I mean, didn't Mandy Brumley a few years ago have Arabian classes in her Vegas shows?
Still does.
Yes. So why can't we do that in Oklahoma City and say, hey, we're gonna add $5,000 in the non-pro for Arabians or Arabians and half-Arabians, and say, come on, let's go show. I mean, exposure, I think, who cares? They're just going to say, heck yeah, we're happy to have the entries. And let some people look at it. I'm just kicking it out and saying, is it possible?
Yes. And the Arabians have a little, I think they call it the STAR program, where people can earn awards showing in other industries through I don't know exactly the process. I haven't done it, but they can win like a year-end buckle or win some prizes along the way as they're showing in NRHA or NSBA, stuff like that. They do have a small program like that. It would probably need to be ramped way up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just questions, and I think the AWWA is a great start for that. I think that some of we've had the discussion about the half-Arabians and the purebreds, but some of those horses are so nice and it can be competitive with another breed. So to say, oh, gee, we can't, I think that's wrong thinking too. You know what I'm saying? Say, oh my gosh, we need to stay completely away from that. I think when that nice horse is a nice horse, and if the officiating is done as it's supposed to be done, who cares what you're riding?
I agree. A lot of our quarter horse shows offer all breed classes. We'll show Arabians in there as well.
Okay.
A lot of times schooling, and sometimes pretty successfully. You know, I remember I was in I think it was 25 or 28 horse class, and I was second on an Arabian on a ranch on the rail class recently. So if you have a nice horse is a nice horse.
Yes.
Agreed.
And everybody is always, that's been tested with time many times. And so that's 100% true. The rest of it's just people being people. We've got the 2023 Ranch Challenge champion that you're going to know more about it because you were there, Jesse. Let's run this quick. And then Jesse, I want you to talk about it. Strengths, weaknesses, what it means, where we going, how can we be a part to advance it even more? Let's see here. Here he comes.
Oh yeah, that's I don't remember the name of this horse, but that's a good friend of mine, Doug Stewart. I think he's in Oregon, if I remember. If I said that wrong, sorry, Doug. Yeah, this is a nice horse. This was a stallion. Doug had a great year that year in all of the ranch classes. You see this a nice forward moving horse. He's pleasant to watch. He's right between the reins. There's absolutely no resistance out of this horse. There's nothing Doug asked him to do that this horse wasn't willing to do. I remember this ride very well, and it looks ranchy. I mean, he good lead change there. It just looks like a good horse that you would go work on the ranch. I thought a lot of this run. Boy, Doug was on fire that year. He won so much.
And so talk about, while this run is going, about the officiating. And can you not advance the officiating not so subjective, makes it more objective, but then would even take you to a more elevated spot with the weaknesses that the rest of us have identified in some of the other advanced disciplines? Talk about it.
This has been run twice now. I think that's right. We've done this 2 years now. I had no issue with the judging at all. I thought it was great every time. It was really neat. So we don't get to practice on this course at all. Right. We'll know what the course is a couple days in advance, but we won't have seen any of the obstacles, anything. And they set the course up, and then we actually walk that course with the judges. The judges are all there in the arena, and they take about 10, maybe 15 minutes. And we all have our little pattern paper in our hand, and we walk that course, and the judges are given instructions. There, look how good that thing handles that rope, and throwing that rope. And that was just a good run, a good horse. But we walk that pattern with the judges. The judges are telling us what they're looking for. We have a lot of leeway in how we can show it and place our pattern to our best advantage. We have to stay on pattern, but it's not placed like a horsemanship class where it's really, really specific, where you have to put everything. And then you got to jump on. You got to do this class cold. Your horse has never seen the obstacles. You've never practiced it. You've never gone through it. And I think that's a great appeal of this class. There were some complaints about that, and that was one thing they asked my opinion on. I was like, heck no. Keep it the way it is. Right. Let it be ranchy. Let it be a ranch class. There's been some talk about having more times where the judges can evaluate the horse's movement. Movement's really, really important. I don't know that it should be a hugely important criteria on this class. I'd like to see it stick with your horses having stuff thrown at it. It's being asked to do this, and I'd like to see it stay where the horse that does everything the most efficiently, the most willing, is the winner. And that was an excellent example. That horse never told him no. It went through there like a soldier. That horse deserved to win.
Right, that's which everything 10, that you guys talk about is a ranch horse, because no 2 days on the ranch are ever the same. So it's about having a broke horse that when you go do your day, you're prepared, right? That's what you're talking about.
That's how I look at it. And we don't want it to be trail. We don't want it to be ranch riding. We don't want it to be ranch on the rail. Right. Those are all this should have a different criteria. You're taking ranch, even if you think of a ranch riding pattern. By the time we're done showing it, it's not really ranch anymore, right? We've got, fancy outfits and, manes and tails combed out and shiny. This I would like to see stay more or like ranch. How do we move true ranch into that arena and ask that horse to do the things that they would do? And that's what makes this class special, and I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, I I think you've got the door of opportunity is wide open for you guys, all of you that are involved in this aspect of it. And I think your biggest opportunity is not making it breed specific, but making it discipline specific, which would then put it parallel to reining, cutting, cow horse, roping. Have at it.
Yeah. And this is really a unique class. It's unique to nationals. You can kind of look at it and say, the first year I was like, well, this is just a ranch trail class. They're just calling it a ranch challenge. And then last year we saw what the pattern was going to be on paper. It looked like what you call city trail. We all call it city trail class, where it's more like the Western pleasure horses doing trail. And then, boy, were we wrong. When they set that course up, it was not a trail. It looked like one on paper, but it was not. It was much more like this. We're asking those horses to do things that they're not seeing on a day-to-day basis. And my actual suggestion, I'm going to keep pushing it, so I'm going to stay on here. The first year this happened, they gave us a list of things that could possibly be part of the pattern. I remember one of them was like throw the rope, which it was. One of them was load them on a horse trailer. I think a bridge, maybe work a gate, maybe push a cow somewhere. I don't remember all the items on that list. What I'd like to see happen is that early on in nationals, all those items be thrown in a hat, and then they draw 4 or 5 of those out of a hat, and then they got a couple days to put that pattern together. And we were all there, watching them as they pull out. And I think that would be a lot of fun, and it'd be fun for the exhibitors, and just kind of add one more element that you got to be prepared to do anything when you show up.
It could also be fun for a spectator to kind of get involved too, which is one of the bigger areas in today's industry that the horse show world is trying to cross that bridge, and there's only a couple getting it done. The Wildman's, have you seen the Wildman's obstacle course at the Calgary Stampede? Either one of you?
No, I've not.
I've seen where somebody did it with a GoPro on.
It's
it's pretty elaborate.
Yeah. And pretty cowboy. So there's a happy medium in there is what I'm getting at. But, I don't know any of the stuff. I haven't done the research, but the Calgary Stampede, because it's also got a rodeo and it's got a lot of entertainment, music and all that other kind of stuff, that they're in the entertainment business of keeping a crowd somewhat engaged. In the horse show world, we're trying to figure that spot out yet. And there's only a couple that are kind of getting there. I see that opportunity with this ranch challenge, because you could not only do everything that you just made reference to, but it could be very spectator friendly, especially if they're just doing it for the first, no practice, right?
Right. And it is, there is a huge crowd at nationals. The first year is an evening class. Last year is morning class, but there was still a good crowd there. That first year, there was a crowd, and they were involved. You could hear every gasp, you could hear applause, you could hear cheering. They were involved. And I'll give you a little story about my horse. Within the challenge itself, the challenge is open to anybody, professionals and amateurs, horse at any age, whatever. They have what they call the 4-year-old challenge. So that first year, I wanted nothing to do with this. I feel like, hey, I'm a reiner. Yeah, I'm doing the ranch riding. Ranch riding fits me really good. It fits my training program. So I've gotten drawn into that pretty heavy. And this was just one area I wanted nothing to do with. And I did very little practice. I kind of went down the list.
Why were you set that way to start with?
Because I'm a horse trainer and hard-headed.
Okay.
It just felt like it was outside of my area of expertise. It just felt like, hey, you're hiring me to go win the reining or win the ranch riding, and now you want me to play in this class? Was kind of how I looked at it. So I did very little practicing. I kind of had my arm twisted and said, okay, you can enter if you want to. The owner insisted we were entering. I'm going to tell you, I come out of that with like 3, I guess you call landmarks or whatever. 3 areas. 1, I was the worst go in the class. I had the lowest score. I had the lowest score in the whole entire class. I was the crowd favorite, hands down. I was the crowd favorite. I had more people behind me and trying to help me. And like the point where I had to throw the rope, I knew the horse would let me throw the rope. What she wouldn't let me do is wind it up. So we were on the walkthrough, and the judges are like, okay, we don't expect you to catch. You don't have to be a professional roper. We just want to know that you can throw the rope, and when you're done, wind it up and just hang it back up on the thing for the next person. Well, I had a plan there. So I came.
You were going to catch. You were going to catch, so you didn't have to wind it. I already know what you're going to do.
I didn't have to wind that rope, and I got in there, and it was time to throw that rope, and I put my head down and put my hands together for a minute, said a little prayer, and the crowd just ate that up. I really tried to have fun with it, play to the crowd a little bit, and I threw that rope, and I caught, and I jerked the slack, and right as I jerked the slack, the crowd realized that I had caught, and they got loud. They cheered. My horse ran sideways and got spooked at the cheering. But it was a lot of fun. I was really glad I did it. And she was actually the only 4-year-old in there that year. So I got those 3 distinctions: crowd favorite, lowest score, and 4-year-old champion.
Good for you.
Well, I think that's interesting. Don't you see, Brian, like the greatest potential for growth right there though, too? I mean, like, for me, I'm thinking about this. I I have something like that I go find a little 9-year-old girl that's horse crazy and say, hey, look, I need you to throw this rope and coil it up enough times where this mare's not scared of it anymore. And she'd spend like 2 weeks doing it until this thing, wouldn't care anymore. Or, I mean, these could be trained at home, which makes, the growth potential even larger. Somebody's going to need to come and get help for changing leads and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff at home that, somebody can bulletproof these things with. And I think
yeah, which gets more people involved.
Yeah. And the stronger runs were a lot of the like senior riders on kind of senior horses, the people that are really connected with their horse. They love their horse. They're doing something with them all the time. Those are the ones that did really well, and not ones that you would think would be like hugely competitive in the reining or anything like that. It's the people that want to spend time with their horse, that enjoy doing the day-to-day things with their horse and work on it. Those are the people that really excelled. I will say this. Last year, I thought, well, there would only be 1 or 2 of us in there, and there was 5 in the purebred, and I don't remember how many in the half. I was kind of middle of the pack on that 5. And then in the half Arab, the reserve champion was also the 4-year-old champion. So just in 1 year, that age bracket really got strong. Really good friend of mine, Anita Dublin out of Texas. She had just an absolute scorcher go on a 4-year-old and a snaffle bit, and wound up reserve champion overall and won that championship.
really neat.
That's excellent.
Yes.
So where do you see it going?
I'd like to see it stay pretty much what it is. I'd like to see them continue to kind of think outside of the box. I don't have anything to do with making the pattern or running the show. I think they're really onto something. I think people want to do it. People want to watch it. And if they stay the course, stay creative with their patterns. Like I said, I want to see them draw those obstacles out of the hat and keep the crowd engaged and keep letting people know, there's no way to lose this class. If you enter it, it's one of those things. It's a challenge. It's there. Yeah, it's kind of for a test for you, but I'm starting to really, really look forward to it. I've got a good horse for this year, but there really is no way to lose. If you go through there and you kind of turns into a disaster, well, you threw something at your horse and it didn't work that day. Who cares? You're still better for having entered and better for doing it. And most competitions, you kind of lose that. I think we're all just out there enjoying ourselves, and I hope that stays.
Well, but they now are trying to build a purse through a breeding nomination program, which is similar to the other disciplines, right?
Yes.
So at the nationals for the champion down their programs, because the only thing that they separate amateurs and pros compete against each other. The only thing they separate is full-blooded Arabs and half Arabs, right?
Right. Yep. And then the 4-year-old portion
Right.
of it.
No.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. And actually that year that I kind of I really struggled with the purebred. I had a really good half Arab that year. He was reserve. He was an older horse. He wasn't a 4-year-old. He was reserve in that challenge. He was really solid. He was really good. So yeah,
So
it's a
going to
fun
the,
challenge.
yeah, no, I hear you. But going to the Arab Nationals with advanced Western discipline horses is definitely that is in your annual, you're planning on this. You're not just, we happen to have an Arab this year and we're going. This is in your annual plans. Is that correct?
It is, yeah, and I miss some NRHA futurities going to it. During nationals, there's a lot of places I could show 3-year-olds that I'd like to be at, but I just plan around it. I pick somewhere else to go show. I don't take a ton to Arab nationals, usually 4 or 5 horses, something like that. It's maybe 25, at most 30% of my business is the Arabians. So it's a smaller portion, but I do take it very seriously. I plan on nationals. I go there and really try and win. I think I've tried so hard in those other areas that the ranch challenge has kind of just been like all right, the week's about over. I've done what I needed to do here. Now I'll go play in this class. That might be why I think so lightheartedly about it. It just feels like just a fun thing to end the week on.
But because the numbers are growing as well, right? In a short period of time, people are obviously seeing it. They're taking advantage of it on the nomination and the breeding side, which is going to make the entry numbers going up year after year, right?
I sure hope so. I do think people want to do it. I do think it's the right class to help grow things with. The Arabians are struggling as a whole. I'll give you these observations as a professional in it. There's not enough people raising them, and there's not enough people raising them willing to get them through to their first horse shows. So there'll be people raise them, but they might not have a training plan for them or who they're going to put them with. There's not a lot of breeders out there. There's some really, really nice stallions. There's some really nice horses. Their breeding mentality will be a little different. I'll have a lot of people tell me, well, we're probably going to breed her next year, but then we'll wait a few years and maybe we'll breed her to this stallion in a couple of years. Where if you or I have a broodmare, we want that baby every year, or we don't want her. We want her off the feed bill. So they'll be really kind of not real strategic about which broodmares they're using. There's also not a lot of people building these horses. So if I have a finished horse, I can ask real money for it. I can sell it real easy if it's something that an amateur wants to get on. Again, it's these people want to go through the gate. They want to show. They want to do the ranch type stuff, the working Western type stuff. They need a horse to go do it on. But there's just not a lot of people that are investing in the process to get the horse to that point. So prospects don't sell great. Finished horses sell really, really good.
And are they selling worth the money? So is it worth their while to then take the time to build a good horse in the Arab world?
In any world, is it really worth it? By the time you raise them and you sell them, yeah, maybe.
No, I hear you, but in the rain, and even the rope horses now. I mean, the economics in the advanced disciplines is at a spot. Jody and I, guys our age, we always wished it would. We never thought we'd see it. It's now happening. So
yeah.
The reality from a business standpoint, it is there. And why does that happen? It's fundamentally because of the prize money and how that gets dealt out. And so can horses earn some significant, the Rainers just had the first horse, the single horse that's earned over $1 million in its lifetime. And it's what,
Right.
8 or 9 years old?
Right. Which is, we'd have thought was impossible,
Right.
20 years ago. Just said, no way is that going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what, and the AWWA is a great starting point for this. And we're talking about the popularity of the Western lifestyle. And Amy, my wife, was telling me the other day, she's going like, people they're having weddings dressing in a Western style now, wearing boots and hats, and they have nothing to do with the Western lifestyle. They just want to get married in cowboy hats and boots and a Western style dress, right? That's how popular the Western lifestyle has become. So is there incentive? How do you incentivize that breeder? A guy like me who could still go train a horse, or Brian that could still go train a horse. We said, you know what? I'm going to have a project. I'm going to go buy a little Arab, and I'm going to train it, and I'll make an Ampro horse out of it. for somebody, a purebred Arabian. I'll go find one and do that. What's my incentive to do that? That finished non-pro horse that you can sell very easily. What's that breeder's incentive to say, I need to raise one of these things because it'll make me some money? Or is that what the issue is? There is none.
The financial part of it, I would say, would be weaker. I'll tell you the price range. I've sold a lot of these horses, like a finished gelding, for 30 on up to 85,000.
Sure.
And you're talking 4, 5, 6-year-olds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And some of them came to me later. I only rode them a year. Some of them were in the program and I trained them. They're, just
right. All the above.
All
Sure.
of the above.
Got it.
It is harder. If you really want to breed and raise one, you want to feel like you can sell it for real money as a baby. Even that's the direction of NRHA and the cutting. We're all going to yearling sales now, and we're all trying to raise stuff that we can sell in a yearling sale that has that market. The Arabian market would be weaker there. Just the prospect, and I really don't know I think it's just because it's so amateur driven that people are impatient. They'd rather just go get a finished horse and wait for one to grow up. The people that invest in the prospects that have them with me are people that have a real passion for the Arabian breed. And that's where that starts. So they're getting a real sense of fulfillment out of watching this horse that they maybe raised or purchased as a young horse and feel like they're contributing to the breed. They feel a sense of pride, have an Arabian that goes in and does all this stuff really well. So I think it's more breed passion that's driving the market right now, and then amateur showmanship. A lot of the big money that you've heard of, like, the Scottsdale Arabian Futurity, that used to pay, the half Arabian paid $40,000 to win it, and the purebred paid $20,000 to win it years ago. A lot of that money's not there anymore.
Sure.
The sponsors have moved on, or some of them passed away, some real contributors and stuff. So if that money were to come back, somebody would have to work really hard to go raise it.
Right. But that actually shows the weakness in the industry on when you put prize money up, it's the sustainability. And in order to truly shift it, those are one-time flash in the pan kind of scenarios because they're dependent on an individual's interest and they're putting that money up. That's the lesson to be learned. The changing the economics in our industry so that yearlings are worth 30 to 40,000 and horses can earn 6 figures on a normal career, 5 and 6 figures. That's changing it, and that's changing the economics in the industry. And that has to be sustainable across time. And I would even tell you our industry, the only two that are even close to sustainability, the rodeo has figured, ropers have figured it out, and cutters have figured it out. We're just coming, and I think cow horses have a very bright future because they've got the phase that equalizes competition that nobody else has. I think it's phenomenal. So, but I'm on the economic wheel of where that's turning. We in the reining world are yet to see stability. We don't know where that is yet, but it's fun watching it at the moment. I'm thrilled to death that I'm not you. So, well, I mean, when you talk about raising a family and doing all the things that people have to do, when you got an industry that's being a little bit volatile and you're not sure what that looks like 2 and 4 years from now, it just makes some of those decisions a little bit harder. That's different than just looking after yourself. So I was trying to be respectful in that category, but that's the point to that story, which I question with the amount of prize money and the amount of publicity and the amount of advancement in events in our side of the world. Why hasn't the growth in our side of the world been significant? Because when you look at numbers, we're not breeding more horses. We don't have more new people coming in. It's pretty stable. The thing that's changed is the value because the purse money is moving up. Instead of buying 2-year-olds, we're now buying yearlings. We're buying yearlings at the same dollar that we were buying 2-year-olds 8 and 10 years ago. So it's just an interesting case study. That's what you were talking about. But if you're selling a broke, aged stock horse in the Arabian, half Arabian world, 30 to 75,000, you're okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
legit.
I mean, it's legit. It's strong. It's a good place. I will say this, one of the things, I'll tell you a couple things that drew me into the Arabians is I bought my farm, which was just land at that time, my ranch, in 2005. I was just getting going in 2008. Y'all remember what happened then?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Just
Yeah.
a big crash, real economic downturn, and the Arabians kept me going. I had so many friends that they went out of business or moved away or had to go take a job with somewhere else and closed up their doors. Here I am just starting to get my momentum. And now you throw two or three Arabians into the mix. That kept me afloat. It kept me going. So I've always felt, I guess, a great deal of appreciation for that. And a lot of times I feel like my involvement is helping a breed that helped me years ago when I needed it the most. I could let that portion of my business go and be okay, but I don't want to.
Right.
I also enjoy going to the same place and showing in all those different events. I like that versatile horsemanship. I like going and showing cow horses and reining horses and ranch horses and the ranch challenge and all of that in one place. And that keeps me really excited to go back to nationals and work on all those herd work. I really love doing the herd work. So I feel like this is a part of my life and a part of that I don't want to let go. Then a really big component of it too is because it's smaller, there isn't really those dominant horses out there. If if you say, Jesse, I want you to go try and win the NRHA Futurity, and I have a customer that's willing to buy me a $20,000 yearling, it probably isn't going to happen. That horsepower in the NRHA and those bigger industries have gotten, it's just so much horsepower. And let's say I do get a horse or a really good Derby horse, something really high powered. You know what's going to happen. Somebody with bigger customers, bigger purse strings, they're just going to come buy it from me.
Correct.
I'm going to take it because I got a family to feed,
Yeah. Sure.
and now I'm back. Now the Arabians, and I'll tell this for anybody out there, if they want to try it or they're a trainer that's struggling, if you can train a horse, you can prepare a horse to go show, and you can do a good job showing that horse, you will be competitive in the Arabians. You don't have to have a superpowered horse. You just have to have a nice horse that's a willing partner, understand its limitations, know where to ask it to shine, know where to back off, and you go do a good job, you will be competitive there. And that to me, letting that sort of fall on my skills, my knowledge as a horseman, and my ability as a showman, knowing that I can go use that to win. And it's not just all about what horse I can afford to buy and relying on that to get me to the winner's circle.
Well, I think that's super positive, and Brian and I have had this discussion too, and we, sometimes I think we beat that. We don't have enough growth, but I think there is some, and we go and watch the Derby finals or the Futurity finals, and it's the top of the food chain. It's just exactly why you said it is, because somebody's got the money and the client base behind them to own the best horses, which is why those top 20 riders will have more than one horse in the finals, because they have the best livestock. You could take 3 of the Futurity finalists, their best horses, and ride them for a week and go make the NRHA Futurity finals. I'm just saying you could do that. That's how good those horses are. So, and
Right.
I know how you can ride. So that means so much now. But what I'm going at is during the week when most of the guys are trying to make a finals, or maybe the 1 or the 2 or the 3 finals, and I go step in there and I haven't been there for 4 years, right? I don't know 50% of the people walking through the gate. So hell, they got it. And that's the professional level. That's the open futurity. I mean, there's so
Yep.
many new faces from a trainer standpoint. You said it yourself when we first started this show. It's like you go to the Arab Nationals, you don't know half the kids that are in there showing now, and they'll beat your ass, right? So
Yep.
somebody is feeding them. So they're riding some horses. So I think there is some growth. Maybe it's just not showing up in the numbers that we would like to see. But I think new faces have to have horses to ride, right?
Well,
Yes.
it's true, but you're now making, by the numbers, it's not growth. You're correct, Jody, but that is a generational handoff. As one generation is aging out, which is you and me, there's a generation coming behind Jesse. So, which that's good. That's healthy for all of us. But you're talking about modern industry that's somewhere between 60 and 80 years old. And I'm talking about the horses. I don't care what breed, what registry, what discipline. Since the Industrial Revolution came about and we moved horses over to a recreational sporting component as opposed to a mode of transportation and a means for the farm, that's the shift. So in that period of time, and you're 100% correct, Jody, there is a next generation coming. That's good. Is it any more than it was in our time and Jesse's time? It doesn't look like it by the numbers. So what you're seeing is a natural shift of handing off from one generation to the next. Jesse made reference to it. You and I used to talk about this because in Jody's and my time, Jesse made specific reference to the amount of information and how well educated, which is knowledgeable, the young people coming into the stock horse world are, right, Jesse? That's what you
Yes.
said. In Jody's and my time, you had to go get that from a person, and there was only a few of them that had it, maybe 15 or 20. So when we were 20 years old, everybody was hunting for one of those jobs because they were the only ones that had it. So,
but no, interesting stuff. Great conversation. I think it's
that's
cool.
my point on the growth factor.
Right. Well, and I think you're right. I'm just remembering back when the 100 head of open Derby horses used to be huge, and we'd have 3 judges judge the whole thing. Remember, I mean that the Derby, you had 3 guys doing everything. Right. You didn't have 5 open judges. You didn't have 5 non-pro judges. You had 3 guys that judged. It was a different time. So I think the numbers, but from a standpoint and what are we going to do? The cut fraternity is so big now. They continue to grow. They just add more and more days to it, right?
I think there is a cap. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you both. We look forward to seeing the outcome of the 2025 Ranch Challenge at the Arabian Nationals this year in 2025. You can go to www.arabianworkingwestern.com. Again, Arabian Working Western, all one word, .com for more info, and tune in for the results of the 2025 Ranch Challenge because we're going to bring you the last episode. So until the next time, enjoy the ride.
Gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed both of you. It's been a great show. Jesse, thank you so much for being with us. Until next time, stay in the middle.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope after this branch challenge in 2025, you have to interview. I hope I do that well. So I've got a really nice horse. And thank you guys for having me on. I really enjoyed the conversation, especially the breadth of it, where we're really trying to tackle a lot of the industry as a whole and promoting something I feel passionate about, which is, Arabian Nationals, the Arabian breed. Thank you guys for highlighting that.
Today's episode is brought to you by 4D Productions in cooperation with the Consultment Agency, a full-service agency that helps bring forward-thinking equine brands into the 21st century using digital skills and services such as website development, graphic design, social media, and media production such as the podcast you're consuming here today.